Hi, I'm Hans Lysklimt. Well, Ron Paul has announced that he is discontinuing his campaign for the presidency of the United States. So the campaign and the whole movement around Ron Paul is going to look very different. Ron Paul has announced that he is starting a new foundation, his Campaign for Liberty, and he is going to transfer the money in the Ron Paul campaign over into this new foundation. And this new foundation will work much towards the same kind of goals that the presidential campaign did, but it will be different. It will be a more long-term effort, and it will be an effort to change the party, the Republican Party, from within, a long-term thing. Now, I don't really know what to think about this, because what really sparked this was the fact that he was running for president. And this really is what has energized the troops and the masses, and especially me as a foreigner working in the campaign from outside the United States. This I did, and many others with me, because there was this aim for the presidency. Well, everybody knew that the presidency was pretty much impossible to get, but still, it was working in the right channels and doing it the right way. Now, when the campaign has been discontinued and the whole thing is going into a new foundation that will be working long term, well, now one has to look at this foundation and the work that it will do as compared to so many other libertarian and constitutional freedom, market-oriented organizations there are out there. And I've been looking into pretty much all of them, and a lot of them are doing great work. And I'm telling you, a lot of them have funding, or not a lot, a few of them have funding far beyond the $4 or $5 million that the Ron Paul campaign still has. But it's been very hard to stop the growth of the government and all the things that we are against, even with these organizations. So the question is if this new organization will be able to do what the others have failed at. Time can tell. Only time can tell. So I have to congratulate Ron Paul on this new effort, and I will do what I can. I've been doing that for 20 years anyway, so the freedom movement is nothing new for me and for the contingency of freedom fighters that will go on fighting for this regardless. But what was unique about this whole thing was the fact that he was running for president and the traction he got in running for president. And now that this is gone, I'm saddened by this. I'm saddened, and I really hope that there's some ingenious strategy behind this. I mean, Ron will hopefully endorse Bob Barr, and hopefully will even make that as the thing that makes sure McCain is not elected, and to toss up some stir around in the party to make people think. But the run for presidency was really what I loved about the whole thing, and I'm saddened that it's gone away. And I have to admit to all of you supporters out there that I'm still not quite sure if the whole thing is ingenious and that we'll look back and say that, wow, that was smart, or if there has been stumbling and unprofessional and just bad decision making. I mean, the video that came out in March where he pretty much called off his own campaign, was that somehow part of something smart, or was that just a stupid move and bad advice? I'm still not sure. And I guess we'll never know, maybe, but I think when we look back upon it a year from now, hopefully we will see that somehow Ron had a plan with all this and that it turned out well. Now, the new Campaign for Liberty, we have to give that the best shot possible. And everyone should show up in Minneapolis, St. Paul on September 2nd to do what we can to stir up the party and to rise up and so the media sees us and raise the questions. And for sure, we're going to have more people than the GOP convention itself. So it's going to be a big show, and I'm really looking forward to it. Also, I think everyone who's been working in the campaign really needs to think what their role will be going forward. I will continue to make videos, and I will continue to work on my things that I've been working on for a long time regardless. I'm doing a magazine in Norway, a libertarian magazine that has more than 100 years behind it. But I'm also doing other stuff, working high and low. So each and every one of you have to find their own role and their own way in this post-Ron Paul campaign environment. A lot of you have been awoken and stirred up by Ron Paul himself, and you have to find your place and your role and your way in this. The fight for freedom is going to go on for a long time, and there will be people around and resources and great stuff happening. But the presidential run is something that probably only happens once in a lifetime, and that's what we've been witnessing this last year or 18 months with Ron Paul. And it's been amazing. I mean, it's been absolutely, the energy that's been in this campaign at the peak has been so amazingly great that I've been just, I've had to pinch myself, because is this really happening? And especially this spring, when the campaign was at its peak and there was financial turmoil at the same time. For a short time there, I really thought that we might be able to do something dramatic, something history-changing, something really profound. But things didn't quite turn out that way, and Ron Paul himself, of course, he's a gentleman. He's not really a real revolutionary in the sense that I would like to see revolutionaries, like speaking of the French Revolution and the American Revolution. He's more of a gentleman, and he wants to change the system from within, and he wants to do it the right way and do it the soft way. And I personally would like to see the convention in September turn out into a riot and people screaming and shouting and making a big fuss out of it all. But that's not Ron Paul's way, and this is his organization and his candidacy. But also think about that, when he's pulling out, he's founding a new organization, and you don't necessarily have to join that or work within the premises of that. I mean, Ron has pulled out, so you as a Republican, you should maybe think about stirring up some mess in some other way. We're still as much against the war as ever. Maybe there are other ways to do this. Think about that. Work the delegates and work the convention. If you can stir up something at the convention, I'm all with you. And I'm going to use the next few days now to really think about this and contemplate it. I must admit, it took me by surprise that Ron is pulling out. So I still have to think about it for a while, what this means and what it means for me and what I will do. I had actually planned to put a lot of effort into the Ron Paul campaign. I've been doing it this winter, and I produced more than 100 videos. You can see my videos on the side here. On the video screen, and I was planning to do more, and I had a strategy for how I would pull together a whole series of videotapes, and I will do that probably regardless, but I have to do it differently. It's not going to be part of the Ron Paul campaign quite as I thought it would be. Maybe it will be part of something else. Maybe it will be part of the campaign for liberty. Maybe not. Maybe it will be something completely different. We all have to think about that for a while. So what I want people to do now, what I want everyone to do, is that while this spirit of Ron Paul and the Ron Paul campaign is still alive, I want you to network as much as possible with other like-minded people. I mean, there are lots of people out there that has been excited about this Ron Paul campaign, just as you and I have. And we can find them on the internet. Go to the meetup groups. Go on Facebook, go on here on YouTube, sign up, subscribe to the Ron Paul channels and the individuals that have been pulling strings in this campaign. Go to the Ron Paul sites and try to connect with people, especially people in your local town or state or wherever you are, and keep in touch with them, Sooner, this campaign and this whole thing will be over in 2008, and then we will have the campaign for freedom, and you can network in that as well, but we don't really know what that's going to be yet. So connect for yourself, you individually, connect with other people, with Ron Paul supporters, and keep in touch with them. and work for liberty. This is a long-term effort, and we're going to be in this fight for a long time. I'm Hans Lysglimt, reporting out of Oslo, Norway, for Ron Paul.